Hey everyone, it's May 19th, and it's just about 95 degrees outside. It's pretty nice. So today's video is I'm going to be replacing the CV axle in the Suzuki. That came earlier this week. And before I do that, I'm going to grab the camera and hop in the car and drive it around a little bit so you can hear the noise it makes. So that'll help you diagnose if you have the same thing. But yeah, this axle, it really isn't that bad, but I finally did find some play in it this past week. So enough about that. I'm going to go head out to the car. Alrighty, so I got the jack and the jack stand underneath the car, and before I take the wheel off, I'm gonna rock it back and forth so you can hear the slop and the clunk in the axle. So that little tiny clunking sound is some looseness in the CV joint. But anyway, it's getting replaced. So I'm going to take the wheel off and then I'll be right back. Alrighty, I'm not sure if you can do this with keeping the caliper on or not. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So we'll see how it goes for me this time. Honestly, it's not too big of a deal. It's just 2 bolts, so yeah, it's not really a big deal if you do have to take it off. So the first thing I'm going to take off is the brake line, so I don't forget that. And then the next thing I'll take off is the steering tie rod end here. And then I'll take these guys out, these 2 bolts that go into the knuckle. And I was going to see if I can just fold this down out of the way. I'll also have to take out this, this is 1.25" here, and hopefully I have the socket for it. The steering knuckle forward like that, and see if there's enough room for me to get the shaft out. There might not be. So I'll have to take it off the bottom control arm as well, but we'll see how it goes. So I'll be right back. The speed sensor wire should probably also come out. I know from past experience, that's a brand new one. I doubt it will come out for me. Sorry, I might have to disconnect this inside the engine bay and then just run it all the way out. Alrighty, so you got to get this castle nut off, and you got to take this cotter pin out. And this should be 17. Alrighty, apparently it is 17. My universal wrench is a little sloppy on it, so I'm going to grab this socket. But these universal wrenches are great if you can find them. They're metric and standard, and they have this really weird pattern in the box end. And a lot of times if I have a stripped, if something's stripped, a lot of times this will get it. It's a really handy tool to have. So, alrighty. And I'm going the wrong way. It was actually set up the right way. There we go. That's not going to help matters. So I'm going to unthread this, and I'm going to keep it kind of flush with the bottom of the threads. And this is usually cool. Hopefully this will work, but Doesn't work, get a bigger hammer. With it, but there it goes. Finally. So I'm going to see if I can get enough room out of this cable just by taking a little mount off there. That really didn't help too much. I gotta pull this plastic pin out. Yeah, plastic pins go in, but they don't like to come out. Hopefully that'll be long enough and it doesn't stress too much. Those cables are really tough, so hopefully that'll be okay. And basically I'm just going to take these two top bolts out of the knuckle, see if I can roll this forward enough to get the axle out of it. I don't know if I can. I might have to take off the caliper and the rotor as well, but I'm going to see if I can shortcut it a little bit, so be right back. Yeah, it kind of looks like I'm going to have to take the the ball joint apart as well. So I might as well just do that. And there won't be anything else holding it up. I should be able to pull the knuckle, and I can rest it on the wheel here, hold it out of the way so it doesn't stress anything too much. Alrighty, so this is 14. Just a little more. I might have to. There we go. And voila! There's the axle. That's not the greatest, but we're good. Alrighty, so that wasn't too bad. And next part is just got to yank this axle out. Oh my God. It's in worse shape than I thought. It's just going to completely pull apart. Oh, that's not cool. I wasn't ready for that. Look at that, it just slides right out. It shouldn't do that. It should, just like this one, I can't pull it apart. This one shouldn't pull apart, but it does. So, what I'm going to have to do, yeah, everything's got to be a little difficult for me. But luckily I got my pry bar, and hopefully I can get behind it and possibly pop it out. I doubt it. These things are usually in there pretty good. There's a spring clip, and you need that sharp inertia to break it loose. So, yeah, this is going to be a little difficult. We'll see how it goes. I don't want to pry on this, I don't want to pry on the transmission case too much. but it kind of looks like it did move a little bit. Alrighty, unfortunately I didn't get it on camera, but I just used the pair of sorry. Alrighty, unfortunately I didn't get it on camera, but I just used this adjustable as a fork to get underneath it and pop it out. And unfortunately a whole bunch of transmission fluid came out following it. So I'll have to keep my eye on that. It was completely dry, so hopefully when I put the new axle in, it'll be okay. But that cup is off the spring clip, and it'll just come out the rest of the way for me. So I'm going to put the camera back on and pull this thing out. Be right back. Oh, it's pulling the whole seal out with it. It just doesn't want to go. It's almost out. Wow, I can't believe it pulled the seal out with it. That's the luck I have. Alrighty, so quite a bit of transmission fluid came out after I got the axle initially popped out from the spring clip. And I wish I would have thought of this, but it's definitely a good idea if you're doing this to grab a seal as well. I'd really like to replace this one, but hopefully it seals back up when I throw the other axle in. There's a good chance it won't, and I'll be doing this again just to replace the seal. But we'll see how it goes. Alright, so I finally got the axle out of the bag and everything, and this was really nice. They gave me this really nice axle nut. Anyway, so basically all you have to do is pop this back in. It's not going to go easy because there's a spring clip here. And yeah, this is what kind of threw me off. I didn't realize this, but these cups pull, look at that, they pull completely apart. That's kind of new for me. Usually there's a spring clip in here as well, so you can yank on the axle and get it out. But anyway, one of my signature marks is grease on everything, so I'm going to go get the grease gun and put a bunch of Zenaplex 2 around this and put it back in. You don't have to, it's just kind of how I was taught and like a pet peeve of mine. So I always do that. But as you can see, there's plenty of transmission fluid in there to lubricate it and everything. But I'm going to grab the grease gun and I'll be right back. Alright, so I got the grease gun and I'm going to clean that off really good. Then I'm going to schmutz it up. Just going to put a big blob there. And be a little careful with the grease gun in case I want some more, but that's more than enough. Make sure my hands are pretty clean. My finger that I'm going to spread it around with is pretty clean. And nothing wrong with grease in the face either. Like I said, you don't have to, I'm sure, but that's just what I do. So I'm going to have to keep an eye on this and see if it leaks transmission fluid when I'm done. Alright. Wow. That was, it slid right in there. I can't believe that. Absolutely no problem at all. Usually you have to hammer them in pretty good. Well, hopefully that makes a nice good seal, and it won't leak any more transmission fluid. Yeah, I don't know if you can see, it's a little dark out, but there is grease already on the inside of that bearing. and stuff. But I'm going to grease the heck out of it anyway, out of the new axle. And yeah, I guess I can start putting this back together. This really, other than the little hiccup, it wasn't too bad. Definitely going to get some grease in there as well. Supposedly, you want to keep the back of your bearing free of grease. There was a little note that came with the wheel speed sensor that said grease could interfere with it, but I always grease the heck out of stuff, and when I redid these bearings, you know, there was and there still is, there's always a good bit of grease behind it. So I'm gonna clean it up a little just in case, because that speed sensor is really difficult to replace. You have to basically drill it out. There's no getting it out and putting a new one in, that's for sure. And we'll get these splines all done. And so in order to get the axle through, we got to line up the splines. There we go. And she'll slide together like that. That actually worked out pretty good, having the wheel under there. So now it's just a matter of putting the knuckle back on the ball joint and the shock, and hooking up the tie rod end, and putting the wheel on, because I kept the caliper together. And this job's all done. Easier said than done. I am running out of daylight. It's a beautiful crescent moon up there tonight. But I'm going to see if I can get this done. Alright, after quite a bit of struggle, I kind of got these guys lined up, and I'm going to cheat a little bit and use the jack to line it up together to get the bolts in. So yeah, that's what I do. These guys are really hard to line up sometimes. Alrighty, it looks like it's going to be getting a little too dark to film soon. So basically I have everything. I just got to tighten these guys up. I already tightened the ball joint up. And also the tie rod end for the steering. And yeah, just this little clamp for the speed sensor, and then also the brake hose. And then the wheel can go back on, and it's all done. Whoop. Don't want to forget my axle nut as well. I might as well get that into place now. And yeah, because I use so much grease, I'm gonna try and clean the inside of this off, because don't really need grease in there. But a little bit of grease on these threads is always good. So yeah, let me get that before I forget. So yeah, since it's getting dark, I think that's going to wrap it up. And yeah, hopefully everything's good. I'll probably do a follow-up on it tomorrow and check it out. But until later, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.